Hello everybody and welcome to another video in the PHP series. In this video we'll continue talking about variables. We'll learn something about conditions in PHP, and when talking about conditions we should also know how to compare variables. But we'll start with something different. Do you still remember the double plus operator? This operator is used as a shortcut if we want to increment a variable value by 1. There is also a double minus operator, and it behaves the similar way. Let's define an int variable with a value of 8. First, echo this variable, and then write echo int minus minus. In the third line, we'll just echo the new value. And this is the result. This is 8 because we defined it as 8. This double minus operator means echo the variable and decrease it by 1. So the output is 8, but int holds 7 now, which is the output of the third line. Different output will be if we add double minus here, and this time it's 877 because the variable is decremented first and then echoed. Okay, let's move on to conditions. We use PHP conditions if we want to execute some code which is dependent on some condition. For example, we want to execute a part of code if one variable is less than the other. For this, we will need two variables. Let's say a will be 2, b will be 3. The simplest condition that we can write is an if condition. For example, we can write if a is less than b, echo a is less than b. This code is executed when the condition is true, and that's exactly why we see the sentence in the browser, because 2 is less than 3. Another type of comparison is greater than, but we should also change the sentence to reflect the condition. Since the condition is not true, nothing will be output in the browser. If we want to handle cases where the condition is not true, we can add else block and write the code that should be executed in this case. So we can write a is less than b, and that's exactly what we'll see in the browser. It works as follows. If the condition is true, then this text is shown, otherwise this. On these two strings, I'd like to mention that it is possible to define a string also by double quotes. Let's see what happens if we replace these single quotes with double quotes. You can see that the variables have been replaced by their values. Of course, we can still use single quotes and concatenate the variables and strings with the dot operator. Oops, I forgot the spaces, so let's add them. And you see the variables are still replaced by their values, but this time it's because they are not inside the quote. So one more time, if we define a string by a double quote, all the variables inside are replaced with their actual values. Okay, let's see what happens if a and b are both 3. We already defined if else block, but none of these conditions is true anymore. We can define another condition block inside this if else condition structure. It will be defined by else if keyword, and it has to be before the last else block. In the parentheses we will write what happens if a equals b. we want to echo the sentence A equals B. Please make sure you have double equal sign. Otherwise, you would assign the value of a variable B to the variable A. In the browser, we see A equals B now, because the second else-if block is true at the moment. We can write as many else-if blocks as we want. The only condition is that the last block has to be else, or it doesn't have to be present at all. Another comparison operator that we can use is more than or equal, and if this condition is true, we want to show the sentence A is more than or equal B. When we look at the browser, that's exactly what we see. So the first condition is true, and the program skips all other else-if blocks and continues right here below all this if, else structure. We can also use less than or equal B. This time we'll also change the sentence to reflect the changes, and this sentence is shown in the browser because this condition is true. Sometimes we want to test if two variables are different. Let's first comment out this section because I want to focus only on the first if block and change this comparison operator to the exclamation mark and equal to sign. This condition is true if A is not equal to B. So we will change the sentence to meet this condition, and we also have to change the values of the variables so that this condition will be true. And that's exactly what we'll see in the browser, because these two variables are different now. So you already know that if you want to compare two variables, you can use the double equal sign. But we also know triple equal sign, and now I will show you what it means. Let's assign a string with value 3 to the variable B. Change the condition to test if these variables are equal, and also correct the text that will be shown in the browser. We see this text in the browser because this condition is true. Now let's see what happens if we add one more equal sign in the condition. This text is not shown anymore because the condition is not true. What did just happen? Basically, if we use triple equal operator, it doesn't check only the value, which in this case is the same, but it also checks the type. A is an integer value, but B is a string. However, if we delete the quotes and assign 3 to B, this condition is true again and the text is shown in the browser. This time both the values and the variable types are equal and the condition is true. So keep this in mind if you compare if two variables are equal. Okay, now we know some basic comparison operators, and I'd like to talk a little about the syntax. This, what we just used, is the most common syntax with curly braces. However, if we have only a single instruction that we want to process in the if block, we can omit these curly braces completely. The syntax is still valid and the text is shown in the browser. Also, if we want to process a single instruction in the else block, we can add this else block and omit these curly braces too. The syntax is still valid. However, if we want to process multiple instructions, for example, we'll add one more echo that will say A is still equal to B. The NetBeans is indicating that there is a syntax error, and if we'll try to see the result in the browser, we'll also get a parse error by PHP. To correct this parse error, we have two options. One option is to add curly braces as we had them before, so one pair of curly braces in the if block and another after else keyword. You see the syntax is valid now. And another option is to remove the curly braces and add a colon after if condition, another colon after else keyword, but in the end we have to add and if keyword. And the syntax is still valid. So either syntax is good, and it's up to you which one you adopt. I think it's a good time to introduce a new type of variable, and it's a Boolean variable. This type of variable can have only two values, either true or false. So in this if block, let's define a variable named equal and assign it a true value. In the else block, let's assign a false value to the equal variable. Let's var dump it. Okay, maybe we can add a few line breaks to make it more readable. And if we'll look in the browser, we'll see that the type of equal variable is bool and the value is true. Let's see how we can use Boolean variables inside conditions. So we'll define another condition block, and this time if equal is true, which we'll write just as equal variable inside parentheses. We want to echo A and B are equal. Else, if this condition is not true, we'll echo they are different. In the browser, we'll see the sentence A and B are equal. That's because equal is true, and this first instruction is processed. We can also combine conditions inside the parentheses in if blocks, either with and or keywords. I will show you the differences. First, let's define a new variable called bold and assign it true. If both of these variables are true, equal and bold, we'll add some HTML markup here and make this sentence in bold font. Then we'll add a new else if block, which will be true only if equal is true and bold is false, and we'll echo the same sentence, but this time in the normal font. When we refresh the browser, we'll see that the sentence is in bold because both of these variables are true. If we want to, we can use an alternative syntax and rewrite this condition. That will be when we change the and keyword with double ampersand. You see the sentence is still in bold because the condition is still true. We can also write a condition where we test for the false value, and for example we can rewrite the second condition to be met if equal is true and bold is false. That's written as the exclamation mark followed by the variable name. So this condition will be true if equal is true and bold is false. Then we'll just change the value of bold variable, and when we refresh the browser, we'll see that the sentence is written in the normal font because the second condition is met. So far, we know how to connect multiple conditions with an AND operator. Another commonly used operator is an OR operator. For example, we can introduce a new variable named doWeCheat and assign it a false value. Then we'll just replace the second part of the condition with an OR keyword and the new variable doWeCheat. Let's also delete the else if block. In the browser, we see that the sentence in bold is shown because the first condition is true. But what happens if we change the value of b variable to 4? We should see the second sentence, they are different, because the first condition is not true anymore. Let's make a little test and change the value of doWeCheat variable to true. A condition with OR keyword is considered to be true if either of these two variables is true. Equal is false at this moment, but do we cheat is true, and that's why we'll see the bold sentence in the browser. But we are not cheaters, so we'll change the value of do we cheat variable back to false. Another type of operator in PHP is a tertiary operator. Let's explain it on an example. We'll define a new variable called price text. Then we need a condition, for example, price is less than 10. The condition is followed by the question mark and a value that can be assigned to this variable. Then we'll write a colon followed by another string that can be assigned to this variable too. I will give you the explanation in just a moment. Let's first echo this variable in the price section. So how does it work? If this condition is true, then this first string is assigned to the variable. Otherwise, the second string is assigned to the variable. So in the browser, we see the text discount because the price is less than 10. If we change the price to 17.90, then the normal price text is shown in the parentheses because the condition is not true anymore, and the second string with text normal price is assigned to the variable price text. In PHP there is one more command that we can use for conditions, and it's a switch command. This command is suitable if we want to test multiple values of a variable. A good example of such a use case is if we want to test day of the week. So we'll define a new variable called day of week, and I'll introduce a PHP function called date. This function takes a formatting string where lowercase w stands for numeric representation of day of the week. Namely, 0 stands for Sunday, 1 for Monday, etc., and 6 stands for Saturday. If we var dump this variable, we'll see that the result is 1 because today is Monday. Okay, let's move on and explain how the switch command works. First, we'll add a line break after the price HTML and the PHP block. Then we can write the switch command, and in the parentheses we write the variable that we want to test. It's day of week. Each condition starts with case keyword followed by the value that we want to test. In this case it's 0, which stands for Sunday. And we can even test multiple conditions, so we'll write another case with the value 6, which stands for Saturday. Each condition block has to end with the break keyword. This keyword is very important, and I will show you why in just a while. Then we'll have another case where we'll test for the 5 value, which stands for Saturday. Again, we'll write the break keyword. If we have some PHP code that we want to execute in any other case that hasn't been tested yet, we can write default, again followed by a break keyword, and this code will be executed in any other case. So let's define what happens in the case of Saturday and Sunday. We'll echo the text weekend deal 50% off. In case of Friday, we'll echo Friday deal 30% off, and in any other case we'll echo regular price. And in the browser you'll see the text regular price because it's Monday today. We can make a test and write a condition block with case 1 for Monday, where we'll echo the text Monday price, and we'll see this text in the browser. Now I will show you why the breaks are important. Let's comment out this break. Refresh the browser and you see we have two texts there. Why is it so? Since the value of the variable is 1, this text is shown in the browser. But since there is no break keyword, the program continues on the next line and this regular price is also shown in the browser. So be careful and don't forget to write your break keywords. Do you remember the alternative syntax that I showed you for the if-else condition block? There is also an alternative syntax for the switch block. First, let's remove the curly braces. Then in the end, we'll write end switch. That's the keyword that ends the switch condition block. In the first line, after the parentheses, write a colon. In the browser, we didn't get any parse error, so this syntax is still valid. Okay, I think we can finish this video with a little recap. So what did we learn in this video? We know how to write simple if, else condition structure as well as switch condition structure. We know how to compare variables with comparison operators. We had also a little introduction into Boolean variables and we know how to combine multiple conditions with and or keywords. We also learned how to define a tertiary operator and how to get the day of a week with PHP date function. Thank you for your attention and see you in the next video.